It's 12 months to the day that the flooded Rangataiki River breached stopbanks next to the town of Edgecumbe and went through Edgecumbe. The resulting inundation of parts of the Eastern Bay of Plenty town saw 1,600 people evacuated and a number of homes severely damaged and uninhabitable, water through shops, you name it. Our Waikato Bay of Plenty reporter Andrew McRae and visual journalist Dan Cook have been in Edgecumbe to see how people are coping 1 year on.
It was like a river. It was just flowing so far. The current was so strong.
What's happened over here?
Over here, well, I think the neighbour's house. Well, nothing actually. You know, the water's come through here and knocked the house. It started off with just a smaller hole, but as times, because of the year, the times got on, the hole, every time it rained, it just got bigger and bigger. So it's just eaten away underneath the house.
Maisie Natana, who got back into her home in October. But her neighbours have not been so lucky. Their place is one of 78 still lying empty. 212 homes have been repaired and people are back living in them. Renovations to Jill Delamere's home have stalled, meaning her whānau still lives with friends in a 3-bedroom home, now housing 8 people.
It's been a huge emotional roller coaster. We still don't have a date. We think maybe a few more months, but what's a few more months? For us, it's like us personally, it has been really frustrating. But we've just been trying to find things to do.
Jenny Thompson's lived in Edgecumbe for 40 years. Ironically, she and her husband had just done up their home prior to the flood. She first went back into her house to collect personal items 5 days later, and while the water had receded, the mess from metre-high water through the house was soul-destroying.
I kept talking to myself and saying to myself, just keep focused, get what you need. Don't let it affect you too much, because as I was going around the house, I just had this list and I knew that that's what we had to get out.
Jenny stayed at a hopi before moving home on March the 3rd, but during that time commuted back to Edgecumbe each day for work at the local primary school, something she found very stressful.
I think one of the things was a real blessing for us was the fact that we were over at a hopi and had lots of walks on the beach, and that really helped, with the stress levels and being able to walk away at times when it was getting too much.
It's been 12 months since the Rangataiki River breached its stop banks just behind me and the water flowed into the streets. Memories of that day remain vivid in the minds of the local residents. Many only had seconds to flee their homes and with very few personal possessions.
Sherelle Stevenson, who heads the local community board, says remedial work was slow to start, but a lot has been done in the last 3 months.
If you look around here today, it really is quite a different scene from, well, you couldn't even get in here a year ago today, and in fact it's quite a different scene from perhaps 3 months ago. We've seen a lot of work's been done in what we call the red zone area in the last 3 months, so for the community that's been welcomed, because it has been a constant reminder of what happened 12 months ago.
90% of Edgecumbe Primary School's community was affected and had to leave their homes. Trauma support and counselling for staff and students was provided, something Principal Kahu Walker says was extremely helpful.
Immediately after the last 2 terms of the year were particularly tough, it had been a tough year. Tired children that were really hitting the wall, very little resources that were around. To this year, we still have an effect if it rains. If there's a storm coming, children are still pretty anxious about, what could happen. We still have surface flooding around the school because of the drainage system underground is still needing to be addressed. And those are just triggers and reminders to children just how fragile the situation can be.
People in 24 damaged homes who had no insurance have been able to get back home thanks to the Livable Homes project, initiated by the Whakatane District Council. Marion Hopkinson was one of the lucky ones.
I'd let my insurance lapse because of circumstances of the time, and I was in the middle of getting it again, but and they came along and helped me, and I wouldn't have known where to go.
Edgecumbe's a vibrant and resilient community, according to Jill Delamere, and one used to adversity, such as the earthquake in 1987 and floods in 2004.
There are a lot of talkers and there are a lot of doers. There are a lot of talkers. If they don't know how to proceed with things, they'll find someone to support them. It isn't actually a really good community to live in. I mean, I'm still here. yeah.
Maisie Natana says some people are still angry because they believe there are still unanswered questions.
Why it happened, yeah, and who's to pay, you know, we've had to use our insurance, but that was really good, but, you know, some people weren't insured and you know, it's made it hard for them, but I think, yeah, it's just a long process.
Community Board Chair Cheryl Stevenson believes the general feeling in Edgecumbe is one of hope.
They are trying to look forward and move on. I do understand that there is a segment of the community who have found that quite hard and are engaging in class action and things like that, but if I was to say generally speaking, I feel as though that we're moving in the right direction.
To help build up community spirit, Edgecumbe's staging a fun day tomorrow to bring together the town of about 2,000 people. For Checkpoint, Ko Andrew McRae-Tene.